What's up, YouTube? How's it going? We're continuing from our last video. So if you're finding this video on my channel now, you don't have to stop watching it, but it probably would help to just go straight over to Josh's channel, American AF. If you haven't heard of him, I'm sure you have. You're probably only going to hear about me because of American AF. A little selfish, yeah, whatever. But what I am going to just say is this is pretty much part two of what we are talking about. We're breaking this video up. That way, you're not just absolutely mind numbed by all the amazing information we're talking about.
Mm,
But I think we can just continue on from what we were just talking about. Josh, what about you?
I'm good with that. Let's go.
Sounds good. All right. So, from what I remember, so long ago, we were talking about reinvesting in the long term. And I think there's a couple ways we can focus on that. Personally, I think if you are getting into a business, whether that's dumpsters, I know a lot of you guys watch our channel because you are interested in dumpsters, or you're interested in trailers, or renting something, or you are probably a blue collar, or you have some blue collar blood in you where you want to go out on your own and you want to do a business. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of people go through the YouTube wormhole. What do you think, Josh? Where you're going through you're at a place in your life where you're like, I want this $1 million idea, and they're searching for it and they're searching for it. Was dumpsters a $1 million idea for you?
Not yet. I would
Yeah,
like it to be,
yeah.
but not yet. Not yet. And right before we started recording, I brought up a post that you put, and I think you should go over that. I really liked what you had to say there, and I think it's really fitting for our conversation right now.
I think look, referring to that post, it was in a dumpster shared group. Where we're all sharing information about the dumpster industry, trailers, issues we've come across. And all I did was I was just basically letting people know that I was going out to get a second trailer, and that the brand, because there's always the debate, just like Ford, Dodge, Ram, whatever you're trying to you buy. Everybody has their brand preference. Everybody has their idea of what's the good thing to buy. And at the end of the day, all I said in that post was, the brand doesn't matter. Focus on building your business, building a niche, because this isn't your $1 million idea. Dumpsters is likely not going to, you're not going to be one of the big three, likely. If you are, congratulations. But just remember, you got into this business because you were tired of what you were doing before. But that doesn't mean that this has to be the solution. This could just literally be the gateway drug to, like what you said in the previous video, feed the monster. Take the money that you make from your side hustle or this new business and reinvest it into your $1 million idea. And that's pretty much the simplest fact. And I think we could probably talk about reinvesting the money we make or the business that we're doing for hours, and all the ideas we have in our head that just basically consume us at night. We could probably talk about it for hours.
Well, I think the post was genius, and I brought it up, and I didn't want to steal your thunder. I wanted you to say it because I mean it was really good, and it took what I've been doing and it kind of put it into words what I feel like I've been doing, and it put it into words really because at the end of the day, I have used dumpster money from the dumpster business to either buy more assets, but I've also used it to fix up properties. I've used it to invest more in real estate, and that's also why I've started, posting more real estate videos on this channel because at the end of the day, it's not gonna dumpsters is not gonna make me wealthy. It's not gonna create long term wealth. I don't think it will, unless you become one of the top three, which would be awesome. But it's not gonna create me long term wealth. At least not in the next 5 years, or it might take me even longer. But it does cash flow fairly well if you do your numbers right, and you can use that money to reinvest it into more other things that will make you hopefully more money in the long run. So, kudos to you. I really like what you had to say, and I think honestly, I see exactly what you meant, and it's 100% truth.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when you're in any blue collar business where you're, and guys, I'm definitely not telling. We talk about dumpsters all the time because it's what we know, but I can't tell you anymore. Should I start a dumpster business? Honestly, right now, if I was somebody looking into starting a dumpster business, I would depending on the area, I would just heavily research it. We've only been doing this a couple of years, or at least I have, and um, it's changed a lot. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity zone has changed, the revenue stream has changed, the ROI is different, everything's changed. So I would really heavily research it. But that doesn't mean that your your cash flowing business isn't out there. It doesn't have to be dumpsters, but you can come up with an idea, a side hustle that turns into a full time business that feeds that long term wealth. Because you're right, Josh. Because at the end of the day, you can continue to reinvest in your business and build more cash flow, right? But eventually, that is a vicious cycle where I loved how you said it. You're feeding the beast. Every month, you are buying more dumpsters, you're buying more trucks, you're buying more equipment, you're buying more this, and let's ignore last year, or let's call it the COVID area, where assets were just, I mean, it was insane. You could have a 10-year-old truck and all of a sudden it was worth more than you paid 10
Mm-hmm.
years ago. Let's pretend that never happened, and let's just say things are normal. Is your truck going to be worth more than it was 5 years down the line? Like when you bought it now, is it going to be worth more in 5 years, you think?
Probably not.
Okay, so it's a depreciating asset. So at the end of the day, yeah, there's a way around taxes where you get money back because of your depreciating asset. But at the end of the day, that truck is a liability. That is a depreciating asset.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to cost you money over the long term. It's making you that cash flow right now. It's making you that cash flow. But the thing I hate in seeing blue collar workers work is getting in the vicious cycle of continuing to work, because they either continue to pour back into the business, which is great up to a point, but then the money outside of that is being used on toys. I know blue collar guys who have multiple boats, multiple side by sides, multiple four wheelers, multiple cars, trucks. And this is just like one or two people that I'm talking about. They get sucked into the toy culture, and at a very young age, where it's really hard to then get out of, and reinvest that money into you know some an asset like whether it's stocks. I'm not somebody who really dabbles a lot in stocks, but I do dabble in real estate quite a bit, where I want that asset to be paid off by tenants. So I'm just basically that initial signer. I put down a little bit, so I get it. And then my tenants are basically every month paying down my business, or my asset. And then 5, 10, 20 years down the line, if real estate continues to do what it's done for thousands of years,
Right.
it should be worth more. And you know what? My truck's not going to be worth more. My dumpsters definitely are not going to be more than the day I just bought them. I mean, they're literally beat on. So I really love talking to guys about, stop making this your $1 million idea. It's not going to be. I mean, 1% of you that are doing businesses like this are going to be making millions of dollars off of this.
Mm-hmm.
But start putting it into that long-term thing, where when you are 50, 60, 70 years old, you're not wishing that you didn't just pour it all away.
You know, I've mentioned this in my channel before, and I don't know if I've gone too deep into it because I don't like going personal too much, right? Not in my channel. But when COVID hit, I realized that I have a successful limo company. That's my main job. My main business is my limo company, and it's fairly successful. It brings in, it's a good sized business. Okay, let's just keep it at that. But when I looked at it, it was like everything was, all my eggs were just in one basket. One basket.
Yep.
I do own the business, the building, which is nice. It has appreciated very nicely, and I purchased it as owner finance. It was a great deal. But my point is, everything was in one basket. When COVID hit, it went from really really good to freaking flatline zero. Give me some CPR. It was just so.
Scary.
Oh my God, was it ever? I mean, everything that I've worked for 15 plus years, it was at risk, right? For sure. Um, with zero revenue coming in, and I had over $60,000 a month in bills, and payments and equipment and insurance, and Um,
Stuff that normally you would pay off no problem. I mean, you don't have to talk about your margin. You might have $60,000 in bills, but obviously that's offset by the money you're bringing in from a business. But
if you're
that's
not making
gone.
anything, you're not paying anything.
Well, yeah, COVID really showed people what a what was the term that was used over and over again? Essential. What is essential? And obviously,
Hmm.
you found it or still have it. You know, trash is essential.
Right.
But yeah, I think COVID was a wake up call. People are always worried about a recession and a depression,
That
but
was worse. Way worse.
COVID destroyed many businesses, and we're not talking mom and pop shops here. We're talking huge businesses disappeared
Sure.
because of it.
Yep.
And
But
it's
having multiple streams of income, to me, you're kind of doing it in your business. You are doing it in your business, and I really like that. The dumpster business on my end is strictly dumpsters. I rent dumpsters, but you're doing, you're doing rentals. You're doing the storage containers. You're doing a lot of different things under your Rolling Ops brand. And we didn't have that written down, but I'm kind of curious to know, you know, where do you see it like 5 years down the road? I mean, is it just going to be like a lot of things under one operation, or you think your rental of your I don't even know, your containers is going to be a separate operation, or how do you plan on doing that?
I wish I knew. No, I mean, I have a vision. I really do. Some days it's one place, some days it's another. I'm probably a very undiagnosed ADHD kid, but at the end of the day, I rolling operations when I named it, it's kind of what it is. I knew it probably would not just be dumpsters because I did kind of go through this kind of period where I was like, what do people need around here? And I knew trash was essential. I knew housing was essential. So that, I mean, my apartments are under my business name. And I also knew storage, which just, you always wait for there to be too much storage and nobody needs storage anymore, but it just keeps, they keep popping up and then filling up to 100% capacity.
Right.
So rolling ops, I think the big pivoting moment for me was where this year I took a shop that I bought, which was 100% occupied by a renter for the longest time. I finally got him to like move some of that stuff out, and I actually have the largest portion of the shop now. So having the physical location kind of was that moment for me where I'm like, okay, rolling operations is a brand now.
Sure.
It's not this kid with a dumpster company that occasionally rents out this other stuff. And having a physical location, I think, was the moment where I said, okay, I can make this real. So I honestly see the company being more of a rental company. You've got your, I don't know if a Sunbelt's a pretty big rental company, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with it, but Sunbelt, oh, there's a couple others. That's the
Rental
big one.
one.
Yeah, exactly. There's all kinds of guys that do it. And I just honestly feel like eventually dumpsters is just going to be on a subsection of what my business is
Mm-hmm.
because I have a pretty big lot next to my place, which will be storage. And then I plan to have equipment on the other part of the lot where I rent out the equipment for people. And then dumpsters is part of that equipment. And, and the only difference is the equipment goes out, gets beat up, comes back. I might do a little maintenance on it. You know, I've got the cost for fuel, time, whatever. But the only difference is the dumpsters, I got to go empty them.
Mm-hmm.
The equipment comes back, I got to clean it. So, and everybody's going to be in the comments blasting me about it. It's not that easy. I know it's not that easy. I'm trying to, say something in a very short time frame. But I really have a feeling my business dumpsters will only just be a small part. So I think it goes one or two ways. You either it becomes a small part of your business or like you're doing, it's essential. Trash is essential. I see 3 years down the line, just from an outsider's perspective, you're going to have that tandem truck. You're going to have 15 dumpsters. You're going to have 5 drivers, and you're going to be one of the big players, at least in your area. That's how I see it. And
Uh-huh.
my niche doesn't allow me to do that here.
Hmm. Interesting.
So
Cool.
that's just me. I mean, you kind of said that I was listening to your goals for next year, and I see your business just blowing up. You will be simply the dumpster guy. Do you feel like you will be
I hope
the
so.
biggest
I
in the
really
area?
hope so.
You seem to be going that way. Your brand is incredible. I mean, it's a good brand. You've built a brand where I have a feeling your big three, we'll call them that, or and the guys around you are probably going, okay, this guy isn't just some Joe Schmo. You know, this is a guy who he has a brand. He knows what he's doing. He's competitive.
Yeah, that's for sure. The issue that I have is that DFW is a huge market. It's just huge, and
Hmm.
I'm up against the whole big boy mentality, the mafia mentality of the dumpster business, and they have the contracts with the cities. Does that mean I haven't been looking into starting out at a small city and getting the franchise agreement to do that? Then I'd have to be all around dumpster garbage business, not just the dumpsters. I had to do the city pickups and all that stuff. So the goal is there. That's definitely a long term, but I'm not one to back down from a fight either, though. So that's going to be the goal, really. At the end of the day, is try to get into some of these small cities, get the franchise agreements, get the exclusivity agreements that they have. I'm kind of still operating under the radar, dropping dumpsters off outside of city limits, sometimes right into city limits. They don't, some mess with you, some don't, but you're not supposed to, or they have the contracts with these big boys, and the big boys can send us a cease and desist letter, all that good stuff. So I'm up against a battle here in my market. So if you don't have that in your market, or if you're watching and you don't have that, that's a good thing. But if you're not sure and you're watching this, you better find out, because that will shut you down pretty quick if you're in a small city where you think you can operate and you really can't. That's part of doing.
That that caught me off guard. I don't have that issue here, but I had a guy who asked me a lot of questions. Went out and made a sizable investment into buying dumpsters, and I mean, I didn't feel guilty, but I did feel for the guy. Where I'm like, I had no idea. He texted me the next day. He's like, my trailer literally landed at my shop, and a waste management guy drove by and told me there was an exclusivity contract. Like he
Mm,
didn't even get the thing hooked up to his truck,
Jeez.
and he found out, and he had a lot of dumpsters. Like he was ready to go all in, and there was probably a reason he didn't see any competition there, and there was an ability to get into that, and that was the first I'd ever heard of it. I didn't even know that was. I'm still boggled by the mind there, by the idea that that's even a legal thing that can be done, because at a very young age you learn about a monopoly, and that really seems to border on it. And I would almost just wonder, has just nobody fought against that? And it's just become so okay, because it's, yeah, I mean, that's pretty bold for a company to do.
But why is it? Tony Soprano, the whole, trash business in New York, it's a straight mafia, and it's because they have, how do I say this? There's so much money to be made if you look at the trash business in whole, right? City trash, weekly trash, dumpsters, your personal. So basically, in the city of Mesquite, let's say you live there, you have a house, you can't decide who to contract with as far as who's going to put a dumpster in front of your house in your driveway. So, anyways,
Yeah.
we're getting off topic, man. I don't mean to
No,
hijack.
I know that's a whole nother direction you can go, because I mean, I didn't realize, they make the movies, they talk about the mafia, they talk about, the oh man, you had the unions, you had everything back then, and you would just assume that isn't a thing anymore. And you know what? People probably aren't getting tossed into dumpsters and whatever, and nobody knows about it, but it is interesting to see what was left behind of that, and how long it's taken for these small dumpster operations to literally disrupt a market,
Mm-hmm.
because for so long these big companies that were ran by some pretty shady individuals at one point, have held on to the market purely on the fact that they were the only ones that ever did it, and that's kind of how it's always been,
Right.
and nobody really questioned it.
Yep.
So Yeah, I got some education from some guys in different areas where they talked about their trash business and the history behind their trash business, and it's spooky. I mean, it's truly spooky.
It is. It's it's something else. But anyways, what do you think next, man? Where we at?
What about niche and building a brand?
Bingo.
Yeah, you your brand quite a bit different than my brand, but at the end of the day, I think we've moved past being the dumpster guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know about you, I get the call, I talk to the people on the phone, and then, a lot of the times I'm still the driver, I still show up. But it is kind of an interesting, it's a good feeling. I don't know what it is. It's a pride thing. It's an ego boosting. It's my dopamine hit where I show up and the person goes, "Hey, I talked to your boss. Hey, he told me I could give you a check because I don't know if it's going to be me one day or if it's going to be, a driver that I have hired that's going to pick up the check sometimes. But it is like my dopamine hit where I'm like, this guy has no idea that I own this company, and I like that because I'm no longer the kid that has a couple dumpsters. I am rolling operations,
Right.
and I think that is key differentiating yourself from the guy. Craigslist isn't maybe as popular as it used to be, but I'm not the Craigslist service anymore. I am literally a company that shows up on Google when you look for it, and you can book a dumpster through that company, not through me.
Well, that speaks to, in my opinion, that speaks to your professionalism, right? Because, the person's calling, they don't know they're calling, some random guy who owns a few dumpsters, right, or who's sitting in the back and behind the wheel of his truck, juggling between dropping off a dumpster, taking your reservation, wife's calling on the other line, kids crying in the back, whatever it may be. They don't hear all that. They don't see all that. They think they're calling a business. More than likely, they feel like they're calling like a call center or a reservationist or whatever you want to call it. And they order the dumpster. It comes, and you're just the driver working for the company. So it speaks to me, in my opinion, to your professionalism as far as them knowing that or not knowing that it's a one man show or a side hustle or now it's a business for you. But that's where I look. Building a brand is just as important, in my opinion, to be honest with you, as marketing. It's not the same thing at all. It kind of is in the same family, I guess you can call it, but it's not the same thing. Building a brand, marketing, advertising is completely different. And when you talk about building a brand, like with rolling ops, the way you've done it is all of it's going to fall under the same. So your rolling ops will be your main company, right? But then you have all these different services underneath, and each one will give back to the brand or benefit the brand in its own way. Is the way I look at it, right? So I don't know, man. I mean, everything that you do is about how you carry yourself, how you dress, your colors on your vehicles, your trucks, your dumpsters, your everything is all about branding so that people can remember who you are when they don't have to look when they don't look up Google. Um, it all leads back to hopefully more sales, more revenue, and more word of mouth, which is free advertising.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. Marketing is not your brand. Marketing feeds your brand. Your brand becomes this completely separate identity to who you are, and that is where a lot of guys get stuck. Where they're like, "Oh, I just kind of want to run under the radar. I don't want to like put stickers on my truck." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's where your business ends." I mean,
Mhm.
and some people are okay with that. They just want to make a little bit of extra cash. And they just, want to kind of stay under the radar and just, run a little business. But then there's the other guys where it's like, okay, you want to take your brand to the next level. You better have your logo, your information, your sales pitch, everything on that dumpster. It better be on your truck. You better be identifiable as you're driving down the road. I knew it was important when the first time I branded a dumpster and logo, all it said on it was rent me. Because that's all I want people to do. I don't care. I just want them to rent my dumpster.
Mhm.
I stickered it and it was several $100. to get it all stickered up nice and pretty. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I could have just put that into digital advertising. Because I mean, my degree, I went to college. This is hilarious. I went to college. I got a degree in marketing advertising. And then I came back and I became a trash man. I mean, that's the long story short. But the funny thing is, I was so in college, it was, the digital age where everybody's like, uh, print marketing is practically dead. It's, no billboards and whatnot. And there's definitely some truth to it. There's really heavy dependency on digital marketing. That's your best dollar spend, whatnot. But at the end of the day, if there's a dumpster sitting in a driveway and it doesn't have any branding on it, and somebody goes, "Oh, I really need a dumpster," that reminds me I should call somebody. Well, wow, missed opportunity, right?
Right.
But first day I got a sticker on my dumpster. I'm driving down the road and this guy calls me and he goes, "Hey man, I'm sitting behind you. I've never seen this dumpster company before. Will you rent that this week to me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "This is the guy with the black dumpster and the yellow letters, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, this is him." And I was like, "Wow, that sticker paid for itself right
Yep.
there."
Just one.
And that's branding. That's people recognize. You have stages of branding where it's identifying a brand, recognizing it, like brand recognition, and then I don't even remember. I went to school for it. I don't even remember, but it is important. It is the separation between boy and man. But really, what I mean is the side hustle versus the actual business.
Right. Right. Well, when you talk about like the old way of advertising is kind of dead, or you said it wasn't, but a lot of people think it is. It really depends on your type of your business, right? I mean, in my opinion, if you're a national company and you're trying to do billboards and TV commercials and all that stuff, it's going to cost a boatload of money, and none of us can compete or afford that. But if you're a local company, you're targeting your market to your city, your town, a small 20, 30 mile radius from your house or whatever it may be, then the cheap billboard, the cheap one, I wouldn't pay the $3,000 one a month one, off the freeway, but the cheaper ones, the smaller ones, the ones that are local to, you know, nearby the schools. There's a company here, and they have the smaller. I wouldn't even know. They're probably like 4 by 10 billboards all over the place, and they only cost like under $200 a month for a
Hmm.
billboard, and they're strategically located throughout the city next to schools. So you got all
Hmm.
the mom and pops that are dropping their kids off after school or before those kind of
Sitting
billboards.
in those lines.
Exactly, sitting there and like, oh, you know what? I could use that service or whatever it may be. Those kind of that's not dead, and advertising that way, but also using it to brand your company with your logo, with your colors, with your, your brand itself is worth every penny, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if you can justify it and you can track where things are coming from and it offsets the cost, it's a no-brainer in my opinion.
For sure.
And I think at least for our business and a lot of blue collar businesses, this gets me all the time when I see guys do work for me, whether it's a contractor, working on my one of my apartment buildings, or somebody installing a garage door or whatever. These are talented guys who don't understand that the phone doesn't always ring because people know who you are. The phone sometimes rings after they see you doing the job,
Hmm.
and I've got guys who've done excellent work for me, but you would never even know they exist because they're trucks, they're trailers. They don't want to spend that 300 or $400 to brand themselves.
Right.
Or I'm, it, and the difference is I see the big guys around town and they have that on everything.
Hmm.
If you want to become something, you need to start imitating it. I mean, that's all there is to it. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
there's some serious truth to that statement. I don't care what anybody says. For the longest time, I wasn't lying to people, but they'd be like, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna need 414s." I'll be like, "Oh, we don't have that many 14 yarders available at the moment." I didn't have 14 yard. I had one or two 14 yarders at the time, but they don't know that. Fake it till you make it. And then that person, if I goes, "Well, I can't get anybody to get me one. Can you get me one this week?" Sure, yeah, I'll get you one. And so you have your brand just needs to be recognized eventually,
Right.
and you'll take off from there.
Right. I still mention, I still refer to myself to customers as the driver, right? Like the
Mhm.
driver will be there and he'll drop it off. They don't know it's me, right? They have no idea.
Mhm. Mhm.
But faking it till you make it is on point 100%. Um, But yeah, no, the whole thing about advertising, marketing, there's a million ways to do it. There's a million ways to market yourself. But all you got to do is, everybody always asks me, how are you doing it? How do you market? Well, how do you not? Because at the end of the day, there's like you have to do everything you possibly can to make sure that your name, your company name, is wherever the customer is searching at, whether it be online, phone calls, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Craigslist. You mentioned it earlier. Whether it be yeah, I don't matter. It doesn't matter. Everywhere the customer is searching, that's where you need to be. And if you're not, then you're
Yeah,
losing business.
absolutely. And actually, that brings up an amazing point because my focus when I look at my advertising spend pretty carefully. I really don't pay for a whole lot of advertising. I really focus on a lot of free advertising. And one of those things you can any business you're in, guys, if it's dumpsters, which again, I'm not telling you to get into dumpsters, it may not be the right time for you. Any business, blue collar wise, if you are not on Google My Business, figure out a way to get on Google My Business because nobody says Yahoo it when you need something. They don't say Yahoo it. They don't say Bing it. They don't say they say Google it. Like if you don't know something, you Google it. You need to find something, you Google it. There's no phone book that comes to your door anymore. But one thing that somebody did just point out to me, because I thought I had myself everywhere. I thought I was on Facebook. I was on Google. I was like, oh, the Google brings me in all the business. I'm not worried about it. And then my buddy, a good friend of mine, goes, man, you are on Google Maps, but are you on Apple Maps? I'm like, what are you talking about? Apple Maps? I don't know. And I'm sure I am. I'm on Google. He's like, "Yeah, Google and Apple don't really talk to each other. They're not really friends. And sure enough, he searched dumpster rentals on his Apple map, which I didn't realize because I'm an Android guy. I didn't realize that was a thing. And
So
I
I gotta
was,
end it. We gotta end it. I didn't know you're an Android guy. We gotta go.
oh, oh, come on now. I've had both. I've had both. Okay. It just, it's whatever deal's available. Okay. But anyway, that he said that, and I was like dumbfounded. I was invisible, and honestly, almost every dumpster company in town was invisible, which I was kind of like, ooh, opportunity zone. I need to be on Apple Maps, and then I started looking at all these businesses that were not on Apple Maps, and I was like, man, this is sad. And I asked him, I was like, how often do you use this? And he said, I don't open Google Maps. I don't look in Google when I need something. I look on Apple, and I was like, oh, I wonder what the percentage of other Apple users do that. And I have no idea. But you bet that I'm already trying to figure out how to make sure that my business is on that platform.
So $1 million. I mean, this pays for your admission into this video that Clayton just said. Guess the how do I word this? The new form of people searching for things online is not so much, or the new coming thing is not so much going into Google or going into Apple Maps. It's voice. It's voice searches is the new trending way that these younger kids, and I say these younger kids because I'm not doing it, but they do the voice searches. And when you talk about Apple Maps is what's going to pull up the companies that are on Apple Maps are the ones going to pull up on Siri, not
Mm-hmm.
Google. What is it? Google. What is it?
My
Google.
business.
No, no, no. I'm saying Google Assistant. Is that the
Oh, I don't
voice?
even know what it is. Mine's. I don't even know what mine
I
is
don't
on
know.
Android.
But Google. Everybody uses Siri to do the voice searches, and Siri, being with Apple, is not going to use Google Maps. It's going to use Apple Maps. And if you're not on
No,
there,
you're right.
you're not going to pull up on
You're
Siri on search terms.
you're straight up right, man. That makes me even more sick to my stomach that I haven't taken care of this yet. It's
I
like
don't think I have either.
it's
I'm
missed
writing it
revenue.
down.
You know what I mean?
Right,
We're gonna get off of we're gonna get off of this, and we're just gonna be like, oh, I gotta be on
for
Apple
sure.
Maps.
No, you're gonna
I
go to
mean,
dinner because it's almost time for you to go.
yeah, it sure is. You got me there.
So,
But I think you're right. I mean, there's niches, there's marketing, there's advertising. Any business, man, these things are just important
hmm
if you want to differentiate yourself from your competition. I feel like that's really what we've talked about this whole time. Is if you want to differentiate yourself in any industry, dumpsters or not, you need to be doing what the other guy's not. That's all there is to it.
for
You
sure.
want to be better? Be better. It's not business no longer just comes to you. People have options. You go on Amazon and you search for something, people have millions of options of the same exact product from different dealers that have very, very subtle differences. And what is going to be the one thing that's going to make them actually buy it?
Mhm.
The reviews, the feedback, the presence. That's all there is to it.
And sometimes it's just as simple as answering the phone when they call. Just that simple. A lot of
I don't
people.
know about you, but that is honestly how I get so much business. Is the big company in town either doesn't answer the phone or they are known for being the most rude
Mm,
that you can ever imagine. Like it's really bad. And honestly, I think that's coming from a habit of always being the only option
yep.
around.
Yep.
And that's something in our industry that's very obvious. And that's no longer becoming mainstream. And I think you're starting to see those subtle changes.
When you think about calling the trash guy or the trash company, you're thinking about talking to some real rough around the edges, missing teeth, redneck. I hate to say it. I'm not. I mean, maybe we can edit that part out. But just real rough person who doesn't give a crap. Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll get your dumpster and that's it. If you like it or not, it's gonna. I'm gonna.
It might be there today. It might be there tomorrow. It's whenever we get to it because you don't
Exactly.
have any other choice.
Zero
Yeah.
customer service.
No, I mean, literally the worst. That's the best thing. That is another ego trip for me is when I search Google and I put in dumpster rentals and then my town, and I see the biggest dumpster company in town has 1.4 stars, and then
Mm,
I'm next to them with five. It's an ego trip where I go, this is going to get them one day.
yep.
This isn't getting better. They're not doing anything to fix it. They don't care because they don't think they have to, which they have the trash service, they have the big business, but they'll just slowly the residential will just it'll get better and better.
Yep. Old school mentality versus new, hungry, young, um, outgoing, young business owners. That's it. That's it. Customer
Mhm.
service is where
At
it's
the
at.
end of the day, all you have is your name. All
Yep.
you have is at the end of the day, in with your business, whether you are building a brand or you are an individual person, all you have is your reputation,
Yep. That's
and
it.
you can burn it or you can make it amazing.
Bingo. Cool. Clayton, man.
Let's call it.
I think we're wrapping it.
Sounds good to me, man. It was great to actually get to talk to you in person and not just kind of get to know you through subtle YouTube videos every once in a while that I spend way too much watching.
Tell me about it. Same here, man. The first video I saw of you, and I'll mention it, and I'm gonna end it. But when you hopped up on that dumpster, I think that was you, right? You hopped up on that dumpster, and you did like this little
Yeah,
frog jump, and I was like, how is he doing that? I think I broke a hip just by watching you jump on that dumpster, man, or pulled
yeah,
something.
that was my buddy's video, and I honestly don't think anybody watched anything else of that video because all the comments were, "What in the world?" And I never would have there were no tricks to it. I did it, and even he didn't realize it. He's like, "Dude, go watch that video. Everybody's talking about your jump. What are you talking about?" And yeah, that was pretty funny. That's probably why his video went viral. But
Awesome, for sure, man. So, comment, like, subscribe Clayton's channel. Don't forget, and comment questions, concerns below. Much
yeah, make
appreciated.
sure to subscribe and ask those questions, and maybe we'll do it again.
Awesome. I hope we do, man. This was fun.
Yeah, it really was.
We'll see you guys on the next one.